financial literacy, what comes to mind as far as like what needs to be changed as far as how we're educated as a society?
Yeah, I think the interesting thing about financial literacy is most people really concentrate on making money. And, I think that's the wrong angle to take. I think we have to learn, number one, how to maintain our money, and then two, let it grow. Entrepreneurship is about making money. Businesses are about making money. The idea of money really is an energy. And I believe the first step would be to teach people that the three different worlds of financial literacy is, one, living in a belief system of more than enough instead of just enough or not enough. So when you can shift your energy from scarcity to abundance, the education process and the empowerment follows. So if, most people who live in a world of not enough, they're always going to look short term and not really understand money. And that's from growing money, maintaining money, and even making money. If you can shift the paradigm and allow, no matter what you have, and it's true, it's an energy field for me. If you have more than enough, if you live in the world of more than enough, you always have more than enough. If you live in a world of just enough, that's all you're gonna have, no matter what you have. And I've been around some of the richest people on earth, men and women, who live in a world of not enough, and they have, and to me, that's the first step in financial literacy, is to shift people's energy to understand that it isn't a scarce world that we live in. It's an abundant world. And when you shift that energy to abundance, now you can open up the ability to learn the pragmatic, simple procedures in order which to, number one, make money, two, maintain money, and three, let your money grow.
Wow, I love it. I couldn't agree more. It really comes down to the underlying beliefs, or paradigm you have when it comes to money. Or else you can be thrown to education and so forth, but you're not open. It's not sticking. That was great. So last question, very simple. What are your top pro tips, or a pro tip that maybe comes to mind when it comes to financial literacy, as far as like, can you just please like share some of your wisdom as far as like what comes to mind, or perhaps what may go against conventional thinking when it comes to financial literacy?
The number one thing about financial literacy that comes to mind, as far as if I was looking back to give advice to myself even, it would be to ask for help, right? Two things that people don't consider when they think about financial literacy. One is time. And it directly relates back to the scarcity and abundance, but time is a big factor when you're talking about financial literacy. Whether, I need something today, or am I saving for the future, right? It's all about your perspective of time. And the second is the ego. So, what I would tell myself is ask for help where you have the need to be right, the need to be offended, the need to be separate, the need to be inferior, the need to be superior, just the need for material goods that may be unnecessary. So what is your ego? When I retired in my 30s and I lost everything. Extremely educated, extremely connected, and was it a matter of financial literacy? I say yeah. It's not that I wasn't educated in what to do, right? But I didn't understand time and ego, and I surrounded myself with the wrong people. I surrounded myself with the wrong ideas, which is part of financial literacy. And most importantly, I literally stopped asking for help. So you could be an MBA, a JD, a business wizard, a multimillionaire, but if you start investing in things that you don't know, and I'll tell you a simple way, you wonder how on paper, right, I had a golf course, a ski mountain, 33 homes in San Diego. Well, how did you lose all that money, you moron? Well, let me tell you, it's a matter of financial literacy. I didn't ask anyone for help, right? I didn't ask anyone in finance for help. I didn't ask anyone that owned a golf course for help, right? I had made money my whole life, so why would I need to ask anyone else besides myself? And so what happened in 2007 and 8 that most people don't understand is I had a ton of equity. Right? I let my ego get into my way with some lawsuits. I wanted to be right, so I spent my liquidity trying to prove that I was right. But meanwhile, I always thought I could borrow against all this equity I had. Wow. But who would have thought that the banks would crash? Who would have thought that just because you have millions of dollars in equity, that the bank would someday say, oh, sorry, no, you don't qualify for a second on that. We're too much at risk. Well, if I would have asked for help, if I would have gone to anyone that had lived through different bank crises, different financing, and I would have asked for help, I easily not only would have survived, but I would have thrived. I would have been able to liquidate. I would have been able not to over leverage myself. I would have figured out different ways. But instead, my own level of financial literacy within the context of what I was working in was remedial, right? Basic problems. And it doesn't matter the amount. It doesn't. It could have been $10 or it could be 10 million or even 100 million. So the biggest thing that I can tell people is it's almost like an addict. I've been around, being in sports and entertainment, people that have addictions. Well, it doesn't matter. The worst would be if it was a child, but I've had friends. No matter what I said, what I tried to do to help them, if they're not ready, right? If they're not willing to receive, if they're not willing to have help, then they'll never get out of their addiction. Same thing with financial literacy. There's an awareness that has to happen, a shift in the paradigm of perspective that, look, I want to live in a world of more than enough. I want to be abundant. And it really comes from not what can I have? It's what can I give? What really changed my life is when I realized I can only give what I have. And so I started living my life of service, waking up every morning saying, hey, give me, universe, God, whatever you believe in, 10 people that I can help. That's my prayer every morning. Give me 10 people so that it provides me enough time, value, ego to be radically humble, to be of service, elevate others to elevate themselves. And when you do that, it doesn't matter if it's financial literacy or anything else. This is truly, to me, a psychology.
Absolutely.
It's not a matter of some course in financial literacy that we're going to teach people how to have a banking account. I know guys that didn't finish the 4th grade that are far more wealthy and better with money than I was. Fully educated, surrounded by doctors and lawyers. I know doctors right now that are financial illiterate. Illiterate. People, and I also know guys with no education, but they have financial literacy. They have the perspective, they're of service, they provide value, at its simplest level, right? You want to buy things for less and sell them for more. You want to save a certain amount of money right? For me, my goal now is to live reverse tithing. I want to make enough money where I give 90% of everything I have, saving 10% for myself for the future legacy of me and my family. But if you study Rockefeller, for example, the family bank concept, right? If you understand a family bank concept and how that's a great financial literacy concept to know. But if you don't have the right acceptance, receiving, and perspective, it won't do you any good. You could read anywhere, but for me, you got to shift your paradigm. You have to be radically humble and ask for help. There's plenty of sources out there to help people with their finance.
What comes to mind, that sheds light on our founder at Black. So Black, what it stands for is building leverage and acquiring knowledge, right? And a lot of people from the outside in, before he went on Forbes and he got endorsed by Ben Horowitz, like, why you, some guy from prison, so many years, crack addict, this and that, like you were saying. He literally asked for help. That's all he did. He reached out to Ben Horowitz, Big Ben, one of the biggest VCs. He literally reached out to him, asked him to mentor him. And what do you know? Just like you said, all that radical humility, everything, and as a result now, we're leveraging that part of that to bring our mission to light this year. So, and it's part of why we have this community and we're speaking to individuals like you. So to highlight all this, it's amazing.
Yeah, people that are afraid to ask for help or aren't radically humble, I just encourage you to do one thing. Reverse the paradigm to yourself and think to yourself, number one, if somebody came to you and asked you for help with something you were capable of doing, right? If you're capable, won't you do it? Would you? Of course you would. So why would anyone else? And two, how would you feel? How do you feel when somebody asks you for help and you're capable of helping them? I can't think of a higher vibrating truth in the world than when you're able to help someone that needs you.
It's pleasure.
It's pure truth. It vibrates the path. And yet you're now denying, right? You're not giving the gift to other people by providing them that humility of asking for help and expending what they have, providing value. You're giving them a gift, because every person you allow to provide value creates a void that the universe now fills for them from somebody else. And so I really want to encourage people. I know, I tell them all the time, ask for help, call me, do this. I have a tremendous business coaching practice. some of the most wealthy people, successful people in the world, pay me as a business coach. And one of the things that's hard to teach these financially literate people is simply, man,
get out of their own way.
Yeah, why aren't you asking anyone for help? I try to tell people too that, when I lost it wasn't a matter, I wasn't afraid that I wasn't going to make it back, right? I went, ironically, and I studied how to shift my energy more than anything, how to maintain. I wasn't worried about how to make, I wasn't studying. I started reading so much, right? And my wife's like, what are you doing? I'm like, I'm learning the energy of money.
Yes.
I'm learning the energy of money. What do you mean? I'm learning the energy of how to maintain my money, how to grow my money. I know how to make it. I made it 9 months out of law school. I made it during law school. I made it when I was a kid.
Keeping it and maintaining it.
Yeah, changing the energy of money. I had to change what I believed in receiving. I didn't think I was worthy. So until I shifted my energy, that not only was I worthy of everything I could receive, but that there was a purpose to what I was receiving, and it wasn't to buy more things. It wasn't to buy different things. It was to help people, right? To be of service, to provide value that is extraordinary. I had a girl come in here yesterday. She's changing schools, and she needed help. She needed help, and she needed to qualify for a loan so she could be an in-state tuition student, and her scholarships and her grants. She's a soccer player, and she was transferring, and I brought clarity and help to her, right? I said, look, you know what? I'll put up the thousands of dollars through our charity to qualify for you. So now, not only does she have the extra money, but she qualifies for in-state tuition, which now allows her to do. And I'm gonna choke up thinking about it, but all of a sudden, she just started crying, right? And for me, still, what a gift. She gave me a gift. She didn't come in here asking for it. I have people all over the world text me, oh, I know you're a philanthropist and humanitarian. I need $400. No, I'm not a bank. No, I'm not a bank. But if you come to me and say, I need your help, let me see what I can do. How can I help you? That's all. How can I help you? I can introduce you to people. You can work for me. We can find some project. I have scholarship funds. I have, right? But I'm not a bank. So if you're out there and you want a loan, I'm not a bank. I'll introduce you to people, all types of different lenders. I'll help you figure out how you can make more money, help more people, but I'm not going to give it to you. I don't give it to my own kids. My kid could come up to me and ask me for a Ferrari, and I'd say, yeah, how are we going to do it? Maybe I'll match you dollar for dollar to empower you. Maybe I'll help and start a business for you. But I'm not going to give you. None of my kids were given what they have, right? They had things that we did together. How are we going to get them together? And they give. They give every toy, even my 8-year-old, every toy that I buy my 8-year-old, he has to go into the toy closet and take one out and give it to somebody else.
Wow.
Right? That's the flow, but it's teaching him. Yeah, it's the energy of money. I want him to feel good about receiving and even better about giving, because if you feel good about receiving, you're going to want to receive more, and you're going to ask for more so you can help more people. I'd wear the same clothes every day if I could, but I didn't have so many goddamn videos where people are like, doesn't that guy own something else? Because I don't want to waste my money. Right? I don't want to waste my money. I don't need, it's not like anyone's looking at me like Brad Pitt. So who cares what I'm really wearing? But I would rather be able to take less for myself so I could give more for others, this reverse tiding. And I think this is all part of financial literacy, by the way.
Oh, absolutely.
And I teach.
The quality, not the...
I took turning people down, right? Yeah, absolutely. Well, you're made by the people you say no to, right? Made by the people you say no to.
I like that one.
And two,
I like that.
I've been talking about part of the energy of money and success in financial literacy and shifting that is understanding the energy of no. And I've talked about this a lot. I don't know if you've seen it on the videos, but it's changed my life. Once I realized that, imagine if I could tell you guys right now, you were 25 no's away from creating financial literacy for the entire world. Right? Right there, if I was able to tell you, you are only 25 no's, imagine how excited you would be when you got your first no. Imagine how excited you'd be the second. Imagine how excited after 25 no's you would be knowing, well, I'm here to tell you, you're only so many no's, I don't know how many, but I guarantee that you're only so many no's away from creating financial literacy for the world. So when you get a no, you should be excited. You're that much closer. Where other people get discouraged. I use Jack Canfield as my classic example, #1 author of all time, Chicken Sweet Soul, 500 million books, 200 no's
Shout out
before,
Jack.
yeah, 200 no's before they published that book. How could it be one of the greatest selling books of all time? 200 professional publishers all said no. It wasn't the publishers, it was the energy, it was the time. You had to go through, the universe knows.
You had to go through the cycle.
Persistent, consistent, every day, persistent without quit, enjoyment of the pursuit of your potential. When you know that this is your potential, when you're truly inspired by it, and it vibrates the fastest, it's just a matter of how many no's till I get there. And every no that I get excited about. My wife laughs at me because she'll hear somebody give me resistance or give me a no, and I'm like, yes. Didn't waste my yes. And then where I really had to learn is like you, to say no. You know, to tell someone, hey man, I'm not giving you money, but how can I help?